It was 1986. McDonald's was America's biggest restaurant when it came to lunch and breakfast, but they had trouble bringing in families for dinner. At the time, they had Ronald McDonald, Hamburglar, Grimace, and the rest of McDonald Land's characters in their restaurants. They noticed these characters were more for kids, and the people in charge of the company wanted a cool character for more adults to like. If more adults liked McDonald's advertising, this could bring them in for dinner now. They started brainstorming. They heard the song called Mac the Knife by Bobby Darin and instantly tied Mac and Big Mac together. Now they just needed the face to sing their parody song. Through months of brainstorming even more, they finally had it. This new face of McDonald's would be a moon, so people now would tie McDonald's and nighttime, which could potentially boost sales of dinner. The first commercial aired in 1986 and would be a make or break for McDonald's.
Video games are coming back. Sales were only $300 million last year.
When the clock strikes 6:30, babe, time to head for golden lights. Hey, it's a good time for a great taste dinner at McDonald's. It's Mac Tonight. Come on, make it Mac Tonight.
A couple months after the first commercial aired, McDonald's sales went up by 9.6%. 6% was supposedly from the Mac Tonight promotion. This was breaking the bank for McDonald's, and their instant reaction was to keep putting more money into the Mac Tonight campaign. They made many more commercials for Mac Tonight, which gave them even more success. To get even more people into the McDonald's restaurants, the CEOs sat down and brainstormed even more. They then had the idea to create a live Mac Tonight costume and had someone dress in it. Mac Tonight had his first appearance at a McDonald's in Boca Raton, Florida. The managers didn't expect too many people to show up, but to their surprise, over 1,000 people came. The line was wrapped around the corner, with families waiting all day just to meet him. The weather that day was around 90 degrees as well. The first meet and greet of Mac Tonight showed how much of a celebrity he really was. The year was 1987, and another huge celebrity in the food business was a fellow named Charles Entertainment Cheese, also known as Chuck E. Cheese. Chuck E. Cheese had just finished their merger with other Pizza Time great Showbiz Pizza. The CEOs of McDonald's looked at the success of these companies and noticed the magic that attracted both adults and children to have dinner there. The answer was simple: animatronics. Chuck E. Cheese had Atari creating theirs, and Showbiz Pizza Place had creative engineering creating theirs. The CEOs compared the two show stages of these companies at the time. The Pizza Time Theater had the Pizza Time Players, and Showbiz had the Rock-afire Explosion. They realized they wanted an animatronic that was a bit more advanced and moved smoother than the Pizza Time Players, and not as robotic. Now they just had to search for the right company. A company that was new to creating animatronics at the time was called Manatron. They had just created the world-famous King Kong Encounter ride at the Universal Studios and had just signed a contract to do another ride there, E.T. Adventure. McDonald's had went to them explaining what they wanted. After months of planning, they had finally come up with an animatronic that would be perfect. It would attract both children and adults, and it would attract even more people to dine for all times of the day.
To McDonald's, everybody. It's me, Mac Tonight, your piano man for golden, great memories to tug at your heartstrings. So sit back, and enjoy some of the greatest songs for you, some of my greatest friends, right here at McDonald's.
Production of the animatronics started in 1988 and began appearing at locations 2 years later in 1990. The love for Mac Tonight was already huge, but when the animatronics began appearing, the reactions were outrageous. Instead of kids begging to go to Chuck E. Cheese or Showbiz Pizza, they would beg to go to McDonald's to see Mac Tonight and enjoy a show from him. The first location the Mac Tonight was believed to appear at was in Greenville, Wisconsin. He was also one of the last stages to appear at McDonald's. One of the most well-known and popular McDonald's to go see Mac Tonight was the Orlando location, which first was a nighttime stage, eventually being converted to a rainforest stage, circa 2005. Another variation of Mac Tonight's set was his Rockstar stage. Most stages you would see were just him sitting at his piano, sometimes with the Rockin' Chickens. I went to the last known public Mac Tonight show in Orlando, Florida in January 2022. My team and I wanted to see if it was out of order or in working condition. The employee said that every hour he would perform. So, we waited, and waited. Songs he performed would play off a speaker place in front of his piano, but he would not move or sing. I asked one of the employees, who had worked there for 3 years. They said it broke and hadn't been repaired in 2 years. I asked if they would get it repaired soon, and they weren't planning on it. 1 year before the animatronics would appear in McDonald's stores across the country, the son of a late singer, Bobby Darin, singer of Mac the Knife, sued McDonald's for stealing the song. The lawsuit claimed the gestures and voice of Mac Tonight too closely resembled those of his father, Bobby Darin. This was the beginning of the end of Mac Tonight. On top of that, managers of McDonald's started realizing there was a lot of maintenance that go into animatronics so that they don't break. This would cost a lot of money to go into. Circa 2016, McDonald's then gave their brand a redecorating. They wanted to be more modern and have a sleek design. Their locations went from looking like this to this. This was a bit controversial because people liked the classic red buildings with a fun logo. Mac Tonight would get in the way of McDonald's looking modern, so they began getting removed or changed, retrofitted. There were only 10 known to be retrofitted. Around 9 were changed into Rory the Lion, with a changed show tape as well.
All right, I'm Rory, and I'm your host here at beautiful Plainview McDonald's. It's so great seeing all my friends having fun and enjoying great food. It gives me a warm, furry feeling, just like these great summertime hits. Phew, I'm gonna need a quarter pounder with cheese, fries, a shake, and an apple pie to recover from that one. So don't go away. I'm Rory, and I'll be back soon.
How's everybody doing? I'm your official Mickey D's host, Rory. I want to welcome you to Plainview McDonald's, where good food and good fun happens day and night. So kick back while I put my paws to the piano with these great Ray Charles hits.
The last of the 10 was made into the Hamburglar. Once removed, they were either destroyed or thrown into dump sites. There was only one known to survive. It was a rock stage from Woodbridge, Virginia. Once found, it was restored to work again.
When the clock strikes 6:30, then time to head for golden lights. It's a good time for a great taste dinner at McDonald's. It's Mac Tonight. Come on, make it Mac
I called the man who fixed this stage to get his side of the story. What inspired you to work on this animatronic?
So I have a customer that does a lot of work with McDonald. They actually remodels them. And I guess when they were doing a remodel for one of the stores out of Baltimore, this Mac Tonight was there. And I guess the franchise owner gave it to the owner of the construction company. And the owner of the construction company contacted me and they said, hey, I got this guy, I need you to rebuild it. And that's all I was told.
Can you break down the process of the refurbishment?
When we received it, the original animatronics was all done by hydraulic. There was multiple hydraulic lines ran through the back of this. There was a computer stand that, I mean, when I say computer, we're talking 5.5-inch floppy disks that operated this thing. Big capacitors, all valves, hydraulic switching. I mean, it had a stand that was 3 foot tall itself that hid behind it, plus the hydraulic pumps and lines and tanks that were underneath the stand itself that the Mac Tonight speed were on top of. All of those devices, the lines for the hydraulics were cracked. There was water in the lines. None of the devices worked, and the computer didn't even power on. Our background is in electronics. We know how to program linear actuators through DMX controlling. So we sat there and said, you know what if we switched this over to 100% electronic? So that way it would still have all the same motions that it had, shoulder shrugging, the head turning, twisting up and down. But we redid all of those motions with linear actuators that were all wired back to a DMX controller. And this customer, we've done a lot of customization.
How long did the process take you?
We probably had this in the shop for 6 months. I'm not going to sit here and say we worked on it every day for 6 months, because that's not the case. We run a very busy shop here that we kind of fit this a couple hours in the evenings, worked on it in between appointments. I brought in a really good friend of mine who does DMX controlling, lighting, that he came in and helped do all the programming. He probably spent 40, 60 hours at a computer, because every single motion to every single song had to be programmed. So set up, I think, maybe a dozen songs that were piano related, whether it was like a Ray Charles song or Piano Man or something on those lines that, you know, it would make sense for someone playing the piano to be listening to that music. My staff shows back up with a trailer full of, you know, hydraulic fluids leaking everywhere, and this half-closed Mac Tonight piano. And we're like, okay, what am I supposed to do with this? He said, make it work. That was the, you know, that's the instructions. They were real simple. There was no detail. Make it work, and you know, we put a budget together. We, you know, sent it to him, and he approved it. As far as I know, that is only one of two, and you might know better than I do, one of two that's in the U.S. right now. There is one in Orlando, and I've seen it, been there, but it doesn't work. It plays music, but there's no movement for the one in Orlando. When I was in Orlando, they had it hanging from the ceiling with some stripped LED lighting, you know, double-faced taped around it to give it an effect. And it was just music playing in the ceiling from speakers. Nothing moved. It's just kind of there at the restaurant.
I just happened to visit the Orlando location. When did you?
I was just in Orlando 2 weeks ago, but the first time I saw it was probably about, I'd say 2 or 3 years ago. I do frequent with family in Orlando several times a year, so I made a point to go over and see it, take photos. But I didn't know that was there until after we did this project. So it wasn't like I went to Orlando and said, hey, duplicate that. No, we had to kind of use what we found online to try to recreate this. And what we have is all of the clothing we had and all the shoes and everything was in the foam, and it was all deteriorating from just sitting there over, this thing's, what, 20, 30 years old. It's not in good shape by no means. Our expertise is definitely in electronics, not in hydraulics. That, as you pointed out, one of the biggest difference of this one is it's not as fast movement, fast paced as the original with the hydraulic. So it is not 100% of restoration when it comes to the mechanics of it. It works. From a visual standpoint, I mean, we repainted the head, we reflowed the body, cleaned up. The piano was actually really in good shape. All we had to do was clean that up. But we did rebuild the stage, shoes, and pants on the device, of him. So refurbishing, yes, we have no problem doing that. When I walked into the McDonald's in Orlando, I was like, hey, I wonder if the manager's here. I can show them the video, but they were so busy. It was like, yeah, it wasn't even an option. But yeah, I always wonder, I said, well, do they want to take theirs down off the ceiling and send it to Pittsburgh, and we'll refurb it and bring it back down.
That'd be awesome, wouldn't it? Mac Tonight is almost extinct, but if you look closely, you can see traces of when he roamed McDonald's. What do you guys think? Should McDonald's bring him back? Or repair the animatronics at the Orlando location? Let me know in the comments below, and thanks for watching.